Good morning, everyone. It's Sunday, September 15th. It's time to go on the record, staying true to a legacy of service. Mike Dukakis on the state of our politics and the best way forward.
Cities, traffic, and climate change. We ask commuters for answers.
The downward spiral for Fall River's mayor. Has the South Coast city finally seen enough? Let's go on the record.
From WCVB Channel 5, the inside word from Washington to Beacon Hill. Today's newsmakers are going on the record.
Good morning, everyone, and welcome to OTR. I'm Ed Harding, along with News Center 5's political reporter Janet Wu, and our guest this morning needs little introduction, but we're going to provide a very little one. He is Michael Dukakis, a three-term governor of Massachusetts, former Democratic Party presidential nominee, current, professor of political science at Northeastern University?
Yes, indeed.
Current professor at Northeastern. He's a Brookline resident, graduate of Swarthmore College and Harvard Law School. Governor, it's great to see you. Thank you for joining us. Do you want to be called Governor, Michael, Professor? What do you want to be called?
Governor.
Michael.
Governor.
Michael.
Governor.
Governor is always the one.
For those of us who covered him through all his terms,
He's a
we
governor.
will always
Right.
call you Governor.
Right.
So if there's anyone who can understand what Elizabeth Warren is thinking these days, it would be you. So how do you assess her chances at this stage of winning the nomination?
I think she's doing remarkably well, though I'm not surprised, for two reasons. First, she's an attractive and appealing candidate who's got lots of new and good ideas. And secondly, she's staying positive in this primary race. And in a race with a number of primary candidates, you must stay positive. You go negative, and it's going to kill you. And we've seen that already playing out in the Democratic primary.
The thing that we hear over and over again is that the Democrats are moving too far to the left. Do you think she is too liberal for the rest of the country? Because after all, once you win the nomination, it's a different demographic you have to appeal to.
She's from Oklahoma. She's not a Harvard intellectual from Cambridge. And you will see this. She just drew 30,000 people in Austin, Texas. And I think she has a very strong across-the-board appeal. On the other hand, people in this country are very unhappy about health care, and they should be. Particularly since we've got a president who's trying to take it away from several million people who got it as a result of the Affordable Care Act. And while I think she really has to walk back this notion that you want to get rid of all private health insurance. I mean, even the Brits let you buy health insurance, and they have a government-run system. I think she's going to do.
But you
really
talk
quite
about
well.
how it's important for you to stay positive, which probably is easier during this primary season. But if she were to win the nomination and get to the point where she's going against Donald Trump, and you know what his tactics are like, how long can you stay positive? How do you stay positive? And how do you assess his chances of getting reelected?
You stay positive, but you don't do what Dukakis did in 1988, which to make what turned out to be a very dumb decision, which was that I wasn't going to respond to the Bush attack campaign. You can't do that. You just can't do that. And I don't think she's going to do it. Now, how you do it is an interesting question. I mean, do you use a little humor? You know, I've said, well, if he's going to call her Pocahontas, she ought to call him Pinocchio. No, seriously.
Someone should steal that idea.
And get a cartoonist who dresses him up in a cap and lederhosen.
And then the big
with a
nose. Okay.
And by the way, Jim Florio, in case you've forgotten, who was the governor of New Jersey, had that problem the year after I lost when his Republican opponent hired the entire Bush media team for this gubernatorial campaign. And he knew they were going to go after him because he was from Camden and they accused him of being part of the Camden County Democratic machine. Just as soon as they started running these attack ads, back comes Pinocchio with a nose that mechanically expands with a noise. The entire campaign was over. That nose was clear across the TV set, and Florio won by 26 percentage points.
The other political story here in Massachusetts that I want to talk about is Senator Ed Markey and his reelection campaign. Would you encourage Joe Kennedy to run against him?
No, I thought.
No.
Absolutely not. Are you kidding me? Look, we've got a terrific United States Senator who's probably the best person in Congress on the environment. Joe's my congressman. I like him. He's a good guy. He's only 37. I mean, I don't sound like old granddad. Mm-hmm. And I think it's very important, especially at this time, that Markey be out there on this climate change thing. I mean, Ed Markey was talking about climate change. None of us knew what it meant. And the last thing in the world we need, in my judgment, is a knockdown, drag-out between two very...
Have you talked to either of them by any chance about this?
Talked to Markey. I haven't talked to Joe. But I'll be talking to both of them.
Ed Markey's been in Congress for 40 years. I don't want to suggest anything about age or ageism, but is 40 years in Congress too long?
Depends on who you are. If you're probably the outstanding guy in Congress on the issue of climate change, I want that guy there. And, you know, this will be his last term. He's not going to run for another one. And I like Joe, don't get me wrong. I mean, he's been a good congressman, he's a good guy. But all of our energy in this campaign has got to be directed at getting this strange guy out of the White House. Anything that detracts from that, I think, is a disservice. And look, Joe Kennedy can do very great things nationally in this presidential campaign. I mean, he's a very effective campaigner. He should be out there mobilizing folks to defeat Trump.
We know that you live and breathe politics, but there is probably another issue that's more near and dear to your heart, and that's transportation. Governor Charles Baker is getting a lot of criticism for the current raft of problems with the MBTA, the commuter rail, and traffic on the roads. Is he responsible? Should he be held accountable for all the problems that are cropping up right now?
Look, if you're the governor, one of the most important jobs you have is to run the T. And it's yours to run. Now, we're in our 5th year of the Baker administration. We're in our 4th T CEO. I mean, this is nuts. And
what's he doing that what's he not doing, or what is he doing that
well,
he should
there
not
are
be
serious
doing?
management problems there because we're now in our 4th chief executive officer. I mean, I don't know if you guys remember back then, but first thing I did when I got elected, and the T was in lousy shape in 1974. You know, we had those old PCC streetcars that practically throw you off the rails. First thing I did was go out and find myself a first-rate CEO. Didn't have to be a transit person, but it had to be somebody who was a very good public manager. And Bob Kiley was the deputy mayor of the city of Boston. And I went to Kevin White and I said, look, I'm not going to do this often, but you got to let me have Kiley to run the T. And Kiley was on the job within 60 days after I was inaugurated and did a terrific job. And then I had 2 other very good CEOs, including Tom Glynn, who finished up at the Port Authority, as you know.
Right.
As one of the best public managers I know. You've got to have very strong management there, and management that's around for a while. And we just haven't had that.
And the governor's responsible, whoever the governor is. Governor Dukakis, Governor Baker, whoever the governor is. Doesn't make a difference. Do you use Uber or Lyft?
No.
No.
Why?
Do you
I
ever
ride the T.
You ride the T?
Yeah.
Should there be more restrictions on the industry and the so-called independent contractors be required to become employees with health insurance and those kinds of benefits?
Yes.
It would change the dynamics of their entire organizational structure if they did that.
Maybe so, but, you know, Richard Nixon proposed a universal health care plan in 1971, which would have been passed had it not been for Watergate, which required all employers and employees to contribute to health care at the workplace for themselves and their families, without exception. And although Ted Kennedy wanted universal Medicare, couldn't get the votes, and finally they sat down together and they were in the process of negotiating a first-rate, essentially universal health care plan, and then Watergate hit. And that was the end of Nixon, and that was the end of the plan. But I think it's outrageous that working Americans and their families aren't guaranteed basic health insurance and good health care as a matter of course in this country. It's just, I think, embarrassing.
Are you ready for the OTR pop quiz?
Sure.
Professor. See, now, Governor, I know you said, but we're going to call you Professor. Transportation, of course, is your first question. The MBTA's nickname, the T, the symbol, are actually borrowed from a European city subway system, and we have a multiple choice on the screen. So is it from Stockholm, Oslo, or Vienna? The actual T, the circle T, was borrowed from a city in Europe.
I have no idea.
Stockholm. And here's a look at the Stockholm T. The T, we actually have a picture of it. That's what it looks like.
I've been on it.
It's the same, and you've been on it.
And let me tell you something. I don't know whether you remember it, but I was the moderator of the Advocates on public television. You remember?
Yes, I do remember that.
And we did some shows with Swedish Television in Stockholm.
There you go.
And I had some time, so I went out and started looking around, writing and stuff. That's when a lot of folks wanted us to absolutely cover Boston with concrete and highways. Remember? We had the big fight over the inner belt and all this stuff. That week in Stockholm did it for me. Here I was in this beautiful city with a great transit system.
Happy as a lark.
No highways. I mean, none of these super highways. And the place worked. I came home and I said, that's it.
Here's question 2 in the OTR Prop Quiz. We're going to turn to your alma mater, Swarthmore College. In 2002, a Swarthmore grad was a finalist for the Pulitzer Prize for the fiction for the novel The Corrections. We have a multiple choice on the screen. Who is the author of The Corrections? David Foster Wallace, Jonathan Franzen, Richard Russo?
I'll take the Italian.
Which is Richard Russo? Well, wrong.
Jonathan Franzen. Franzen did win the National Book Award. Russo, by the way, won the Pulitzer for Empire Falls.
That's what I was thinking.
That's what you were thinking. That's what he was thinking. We're going to take a break with the governor. We'll be right back.